I really feel that I'm on a lazy river and I'm just enjoying the journey and I'm just floating along. And, I'm like, this is fine, this is good, it's very enjoyable. Sometimes I'll hit a bank and then I'll say, oh, focus a little bit more, flow. And I have desires, and when I think about them, they still feel good. And I think, well, I haven't taken any action on them. And then I think, that's okay. I haven't felt the inspired action to do anything with it yet. So I'm like, they're still feeling good.
But what happens is, if your lazy river feels boring, then you'll launch some more rockets that ask for some more movement, and then the inspiration you receive will lead you to more adventure. Sometimes as humans you get too busy so much that you're overwhelmed, and then you focus yourself into things slowing down, and then you get bored, and then you focus yourself into more adventure. In other words, it's sort of an ebb and flow like that. As you began here, you were speaking with a lot of enthusiasm, and then the tone changed quite a bit. So do you think that there is a part of you that feels that you should be doing more? Are you accepting the leverage of the universe? Are you accepting how the universe is flowing to you and through you?
Yeah, I really feel really good.
And so what is your question?
I don't know that I have one. Is there anything that you feel impelled to tell me?
You would enjoy more movement. You would enjoy faster flow of thoughts coming to you. You would enjoy more ideas popping and following through on those ideas more. This is the reason that we were talking about the pictorial cards with words, or a focus wheel, or making lists of positive aspects, because you are in alignment, it is clear. But sometimes what happens is there is a feeling that action is the enemy. But aligned action is not only not the enemy, it is a path to even greater exaltation or enthusiasm or passion. And so there's a part of you that's sort of holding back, because when you've been working hard and maybe not as much in alignment as you want to be through time, and then you find the sweetness of alignment, sometimes there's almost a tentative nature that makes you not want to rock the boat, so you just sort of play it safe. But in the process, the momentum sort of slows down. And so that's why earlier we were asking you to be aware of the distinction of whether you're in alignment in the receiving mode or not, and that when you are, then turn on the gas a little bit. And so one of the things that Esther's been doing for herself personally of late, as we've been really emphasizing getting ready to be ready and the satisfaction mode, is when an idea occurs to her, she is aware, we've talked about this at some length, that since you're always broadcasting a signal, depending on where you are always in the receiving mode of something, because law of attraction is always responding to you. Make sense? So if you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and in the receiving mode, now you're receiving thoughts and impulses from that broader point of view, which is not only exhilarating, but really, really beneficial, and also really, really, really a lot of fun, and also really, really, really beneficial, and also really, really satisfying, but really, really, really beneficial. In other words, when you get locked onto that signal, it feels wonderful and it yields good experiences. But there is always a receiving mode, and wherever you are, you're receiving something from somewhere, depending on what vibration you've got going on. And so Esther has recently been saying to herself often, when she gets an impulse to make a phone call or to do something, she will ask herself, what receiving mode am I in? Where am I getting this from? Have I tuned into source energy, or have I tuned into some discomfort or some paranoia? Because it could be, and the answer to that is, how was I feeling moving into this? Because sometimes if you're feeling like you're on the lazy river and you're feeling a little bit bored and you get an idea, the idea might not be coming from here. It may be coming from this place of guardedness or from this place of not wanting to get too busy. Esther knows that when she sets things in motion, she gets busy. She only has to make 2 or 3 phone calls to get things going and organize something and plan a little get-together, and she's off to the races. And then her inbox fills up and her texts start coming, and so she plans the time because she knows when she focuses, it's going to start happening. And sometimes when you are accustomed to being busier than you want to be, you're tentative about starting anything. But after a while, you get so not only can you control what comes about what, but the speed in which it comes, and you rise to the occasion of meeting it. And there is nothing more exhilarating than to say to the universe, bring it on, and to be ready for what the universe brings on. And you have not always been ready for what the universe brings on because you've been like a lot of people. You get tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and you put in your requests, and then you don't stay there. And sometimes when it comes, you're not ready for it, and then you get overwhelmed, and that kind of makes you a little tentative about what you ask the universe to bring. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
Okay, so I remember about a year ago, I got a very strong, vivid download of just this imagery. Like I was watching myself up on stage with a DJ competition and winning the competition. Now, at that point, I have never DJ'd. I've thought of it, casually. And it was just this clear image of me. And I'm going like this, and the crowd is going crazy. And
we can see it, can you?
And so that happened, I think, in May of last year. And then it kind of took me a little while to, take some inspired action towards learning about DJing, and, it kind of ebbs and flows. So I would call that a strong impulse or a strong delivery, receiving of a message.
First of all, when you receive that, as you said, download, and that's what it feels like. That's really the receptive mode. You know by the way it felt when it came that you were really in the receiving mode. So you also understand from what you've heard before and today that that's your vortex. That's things that are in the vortex being received by you and you translating it. You said something really good in relationship to this as we began. You said how you appreciated Esther finding the words. So you realize that we're presenting a block of thought that Esther is interpreting into these words. So you did the same thing. You received a block of thought that you interpreted into that vision. And so that vision that you interpreted into, there's something in the vortex that caused you to bring the specifics of that into being. Now, if you want to step back into a more general place, you're sort of a cheerleader of life. When you took to the stage just now, the things you said were uplifting to everyone in the room. You felt your energy and your perspective move the crowd. They felt it too. You get to choose in what way you do that, and it doesn't matter if it's in that way or another. The important thing is that you recognize that when you're tuned in, that it is of benefit not just to you because you're having fun, but to others who law of attraction is put there together with you. Now, you're also doing what so many people do once they receive something. Instead of staying in the receiving mode and letting it play out, you're getting too heady about it. You're trying to think too much about it. That's why we were talking earlier about notice the difference between thinking thoughts and receiving thoughts. And don't jump in too soon to try to work it out. In other words, I better start taking some DJ classes because I really don't know what I'm doing, and I better do some polling of what music is popular. Then right away your energy starts to subside as you introduce the unknown and therefore resistance into the equation. And this is why we want to say to all of you, can it not be enough for you to receive that thought? Can't you rest in that thought and enjoy that thought? Does every good idea have to immediately turn in to a good paying job? Does every thought that you have need to immediately manifest? Because if it does, you're going to do what you did. You're going to try to think it through rather than receive it, and that's a whole different thing. Is this making sense to you?
It's pretty good. Well, I thought I thought that what I did do it with, let's say with the DJing thing, because it's a good example. I didn't rush into anything. Like, stuff would come to me. I'm like, oh, this looks good. I will do this.
If you're following that out, then that's perfect. But some of the things that you said and some of the way that you felt when you said them lets us know that you got a little heady.
I did poll.
A little thinking about it. And it's all right. That's really what we're talking about. Have you noticed that the basis of our conversation with you all is letting you know that you're more than your physical body? Letting you know that there's a non-physical part of you that's active. Letting you know that law of attraction is responding to that non-physical part. Letting you know that because there are two active vibrational points of view, that's the reason that you can feel positive emotion as you align with your inner being, or negative emotion as you pull apart from your inner being. These are things that are important to understand. And then it's important to understand that you are the creator of your own experience, and the way that you create it is through knowing what you don't want, putting things into the vortex, and then coming more and more into alignment with what's in the vortex. One of the very important general things that we're wanting you to hear and receive and come to know is that you are the creator of your own experience. And sometimes you're in step 1, thinking, and sometimes you're in step 3, receiving. They're different steps. But humans get it all mixed up. They think, and then they think some more. You think about what you want, and then you think about how you're going to get it, and then you think about how you haven't got it, and then you think about how you want it, and then you think about how it hasn't manifested yet, and then you think about what you need to do that would be better, and then you think. You know, it's sort of like you can't broadcast and receive at the same time. You've had dinner parties like that, haven't you, where you just wish that you could get a word in because there's so much going on? Or some of your telephones that can only talk or listen, but they can't do both. So when you're both talking at the same time, neither one of you are hearing what the other one is saying. And so it's sort of like that. You need to be aware that step 1 is when you're asking, and step 3 is when you're receiving. And you'll get really good at asking and receiving and asking and receiving and asking and receiving and asking and receiving and asking and receiving. That's why we like step 5 so much, because you know you're back in step 1 asking another question, but you're not mad at yourself about asking another question. So you're asking the question and still in the receiving mode, and asking the question and still in the receiving mode. Is this making sense to you? And so we're just fine-tuning with you here. We're just answering the leading edge question that you're bringing to the forum. You are usually in a high-flying place, but not always. And there is something that humans do where you stick this happy face sticker over the empty gas gauge and pretend like you don't have to look at how much gas you've got. And it's really good that you know how much gas you've got, because you could run out of gas and not know it because you've got a happy face sticker stuck over your gas gauge. And so there's a little bit of that going on here, where you are determined to present yourself in the way that you want to be seen, but sometimes you don't feel it quite the way you are presenting it. That's all.
I did have an experience where I received 2 packages, and they were short on what I ordered. And I thought, that's weird. My vibration must be a little sloppy. And so I was like, I can clean that up, no problem. So I just refocused. I didn't even care what was going on. I said, this is obviously something I've been shorted. I don't care. So I refocused, and within a day, I got a voucher for a free $600 piece of furniture. I was like, there you go. I just cleaned up my energy and got it, and that was awesome.
And you're wise to acknowledge that there are 2 ways to know how you're doing vibrationally. One is notice what's happening, because it's always a clue, a really vivid, accurate clue. And the other is how you're feeling. And you've got that going on. It's really good. Something else?
I just want to say I received this from Source for sure. The law of attraction works just like gravity all the time.
It's really good.
You can use it.
Since we gave it to you, we might as well.
Thank you.